Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I am your co-host Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and we are going to be talking about a lot of stuff happening in the NFL world. It's crazy to think the NFL season has only one game left, and it almost feels like it's more busy now than during the season. We're going to talk about the Senior Bowl. We're going to talk about potential trades on all aspects, actually all evolving around QB. So going to get into it. But before we do that, if this is your first time here, welcome. Ryan and I, we love doing this, growing our community. Right now, we're sitting at over 370 subscribers. We had a lot of success over the weekend, thanks to, I'm going to guess, a lot of Chicago Bears fans talked about why they should pick or trade the first overall pick. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. While you're at it, subscribe. Like this video, like that video also, and comment and let us know your thoughts on the Senior Bowl. And Ryan, with that being said, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
You were talking about it before we started the show while we were prepping for this. The Senior Bowl was a lot of fun. Seeing it the whole week, just seeing the drills seeing these guys go up against each other and all these one-on-one matchups, and you're just like, hey, anyone can go win one match, but it's like, hey, this guy is consistently winning. This guy is consistently dominating. And it's like you kind of put it in the ranking hierarchy. And over 3 days, you kind of get I would say, just a decent feel for some of the players. And all that being said, I think a lot of guys did really well.
Yeah, no, I agree. This, to me, watching the actual live stream of the practices and then also listening to people break it down after, one of the things I actually really enjoyed, oddly enough, was the fact that there was no elite quarterback that was there or elite group of quarterbacks. And so, it was really nice to be able to evaluate and watch some of the other positions besides the quarterback position, which I know is the most important position in football. However, there's 10 other guys. Well, I guess 21 other guys on the field that are playing crucial roles as well. So it was really nice to get to watch that. I had a lot of fun watching the wide receivers, one-on-ones with the corners. You'll see here a couple of my guys that I think really stood out were wide receivers. But I want to start off with you. Who was your first winner from the 2023 Senior Bowl?
So for me, I want to preface it as well. It was actually really hard to come up with my two winners. And also it was difficult to find a loser as well. So that's what the format that we got. Ryan and I, we both picked our two winners, just a loser, or not a loser, but maybe someone who just didn't really impress as much as some of these other guys. And then we just did an overall clear consensus guy that improved or solidified his draft stock. And so for me, starting out for my first winner, this running back class is elite. It's going all the way up to Bijan Robinson. Then you got Jahmyr Gibbs. You got Sean Tucker as well, Zach Charbonnet, a lot of other guys that were not at the Senior Bowl. So to be the running back that stuck out the most, and I don't know if you saw the highlight video of Tyjae Spears absolutely embarrassing a linebacker. Yeah. I mean, it was one of the – It was one of the most
exactly fair, but he still just juked him out of his shoes.
Still, and sure, and even then though, but that's another thing as well, just the optics of it as well. Even if maybe it wasn't fair, but it did show how quickly he can stop on a dime, and then it really put his name out there. For me, Tyjae Spears, and was one of my clear winners, and I thought he was one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the class, or in the Senior Bowl class. He's not better than Bijan Robinson. But one of the things, too, that they talked about as a concern for him was his height. I checked, too. They say that he was 5'11" there.
Yeah,
and
he was like 5'10" and 3/4, I think, at 205.
I'm 6'1" and 3/4. I tell people I'm 6'2". So it's like, but he weighed in at 204 pounds, and he showed that quick, elusive speed. And that's what these teams are looking for. And as I said, in this running back class, to stick out like that and show the moves, not really put the ball on the ground at all. Can be a 3-down back, a workhorseman like, or potential for a workhorseman like.
Yeah, he's got to put on a little bit of weight for that.
Maybe
but he's coming into the league a starting 3rd down back.
We're seeing what teams did with Isaiah Pacheco, or what teams have done with guys like Isaiah Pacheco, or shoot, even guys like Tyler Algier with the Falcons, who those are two different types of running backs, but they take them late in rounds, and then they become the main back by the end of the year, And I think that's what Tajay Spears can be. And go look at some of his highlight films. Dude is scary quick. Stop on a dime and keep the same speed at once when he accelerates again. So that to me was my number one guy. Who was your number one guy?
So for me, the guy who stood out to me really the most this week was Tank Dell, the wide receiver from Houston. So I was really nervous about him just from his tape, and then also watching him at the weigh-ins and just like how small he was. I think he weighed in at 5'8", 164. He's really small. He's going to be a true slot in the NFL. However, in one-on-ones and team drills, absolutely dominant. Could not be touched off the line of scrimmage. He's just so fast. One of the things that I like that you don't really see on tape is he's running a lot of vertical routes, like a lot of go balls, and they're setting up foot races with him basically. And you don't really see like the side-to-side quickness. And I think the Senior Bowl was perfect for him to be able to display that in a like an actual like finesse route running acumen way.
Yeah,
I mean, burning guys off the line of scrimmage. I want to say he only got like actually beat in press reps twice, which that should be a 60% like loss rate for press man coverage, and it's just insane what I think he's going to do at the next level. He's got to put on a little bit of weight, but he had no drops. He actually did so well the first 2 days. I think his agent said, "Okay, you can put the pads up. You're good till the combine when you can run your 40." Like,
I was wondering about that because I was like thinking when I was rewatching it, and I looked at the stats, like, did they just not throw him the ball, or did I just not see him?
Yeah,
I was trying to look at everybody. I'm like, oh, I guess he just opted not to play, which makes sense because I was thinking about that too. Because it'd be like, I'm not playing in this meaningless game if I feel
he didn't practice on day 3 or play in the game, but he was so like I've been watching the Senior Bowl for like 4 years now. I've never seen a wide receiver come in and cook corners left and right like he just did. He only, like I said, he only lost 2 press man reps that I can remember. Every other time it was the corner tried to put his hands on him and they completely whiffed and he was gone.
Yeah.
And he's so freaking fast, and he was actually really crisp with his routes horizontally across the field. He's going to be a really scary field stretcher for a team in the NFL. Huge, big play threat. Honestly, a little bit Tyreek Hill-esque. Maybe a little quicker, like first step wise.
Well, that's what when watching him, that's just what I instantly think of. Is just how quick and how he can stop on a dime, just like how Tyreek Hill can. And you know what? Tyreek Hill got drafted in the 5th round, and then now look at how his career has been. There are guys out there, in the way that the NFL is moving towards a lot of creative offensive minds can use a guy like that. So let's move on now to then I guess my second winner, and this one was like. As I said, it was tough, and I wanted to do something a little bit different than just do the skill position players. And there were a couple of guys that obviously stood out on the offensive line, and there's going to be one guy I'm going to get to later as my overarching winner of the whole week. But a guy like Darnell, right? Like he's not the guy who I'm choosing, but he solidified himself as like there were questions about him, and I thought he held his own. But a guy to me that came in with a lot of question marks, and he. The reason why I'm picking him is because he answered those questions and held his own. Seems versatile. Super athletic guy out of North Dakota State, Cody Mauch. It was funny. I didn't realize this. He went to North Dakota State as a 220-pound tight end.
Yeah.
And then they moved him to offensive line. He put on 80 pounds, kept that athleticism and speed at left tackle. Now with his size, he's still probably going to want to put on a little bit more weight, but just with his size and how quick he is, I think he's going to make a great guard in the NFL. Going to be able to pull very easily a lot of guys, especially a lot of teams who are looking for a good run blocking guy that can pull and also can do well in the pass game. I think there's going to be a guy that they can lean on. I'm looking at maybe Tennessee in the second round if they don't get an offensive lineman in the first round. Shoot, even if they get an offensive lineman in the first round, I say they get Peter Skoronski or Paris Johnson. Then let's see. Okay, it's more. They need more. So then let's get this guy because Derrick Henry is their one and only offensive option. So and that's just throwing out a hypothetical. But I thought Cody Mauch answered the questions, held his own, especially only going up against FCS competition. That question gets thrown around a lot against North Dakota State players, and he answered the bell, in my opinion. So for me, I think that is a winner in my book.
Yeah. So the thing I loved about Cody Mauch, came in from North Dakota State. Obviously, they're the Alabama of the FCS. He doesn't play the same quality competition. Came in at left tackle and was one of the best left tackles there. But he was also one of the best left guards there, one of the best right tackles, and one of the best right guards there. He even took snaps at center. He didn't do as well at center, but I mean, that's way out of position for him. And so it's like, not only do you have a quality left tackle in Cody Mauch, you have a quality offensive lineman as well. And so that was one of the things that really impressed me about him. He'll be a riser. I think he could sneak into the back end of the first round, especially like I think Philly might be looking to replace offensive linemen.
In my mock draft, that's who I had him mocked. I think he had a different lineman there being mocked there, but John
Michael Schmidt. Up next, so for me, my second winner, Sidney Brown, the safety from Illinois, was just everywhere. Played up high in a single high, played in a two high, played in the slot. Showed just a great ability to play both going downhill towards the line of scrimmage. He made a phenomenal read on a screen pass in the actual game, and like just a great instinctive play. Looked great going downhill, and then it's like in coverage, I don't want to throw at him. I mean, like, he has good ball skills. Physically, he can match up with just about any wide receiver. Watching him and Michael Wilson go back and forth this week, like that was fun to watch. But not only that, getting to hear about his character and like how he like runs his life and how him and his brother like what they did at Illinois. It was really great to hear. And kind of just learn about him. I think he solidified himself as one of the top safeties in the class, and definitely I think bumped his draft stock into late day 2.
Well, and so I think that last statement that you said, I think to me is what really helped him this week. Is there's a clear number one safety in this class in Brian Branch from Alabama. So now there's a bunch of other safeties who are going and drafting and be like, who's going to be the next guy? Like once Brian Branch gets taken off the board in the first round, when a team is looking for a safety or an improvement in that area, who's going to solidify themselves as the clear next option? And that's what he did this week. Soup, I mean, seemed like, as you said, he was everywhere, and seems like he can play a lot of different positions within the secondary as well. So seems like a very versatile player. That's actually a good segue, as you mentioned. Sidney Brown is. I'm now about to talk about his brother, not in the, but he is my loser actually for the week, and it's something. It's not that he was horrible, played poorly. He did have a couple drops. Ball hit the ground a couple times when he was in possession of it, but it was more along the lines of as I said earlier, in a running back class that is so deep that you're looking for a way to stand out and to get drafted late day 2, early day 3, or maybe even mid early day 2. He allowed other guys to improve their stock. Tajay Spears, as I mentioned earlier, Ethan Hall or Evan Hall from Northwestern.
I think it's Ethan Hall.
Ethan Hall, Even Kenny McIntosh from Georgia, like looked solid. So
also played with a broken hand too, and looked solid.
Yeah. So at a position that is very disposable in the NFL, he didn't do anything that stood out. So that is I think, only going to hurt his draft stock to now maybe a mid day 3 type running back. And which is unfortunate because it's not like he played poorly, but it was one he didn't wow me, but that was a great segue though with you going Sidney Brown last.
So I think with Chase Brown, I think he might have gotten a little like struck by the moment. There were a few times instead of just like running through a hole, he just kind of like looked hesitant to hit it, just kind of like he doesn't want to mess up. And on tape, he looked better. He had higher expectations coming into this week. He was expected to be up there with Ethan Hall and Tajay Spears. He just didn't quite have that week. And that's just tough. I mean, hopefully he can redeem himself in team interviews and at the combine. So
absolutely. And when I say that though, is because like these guys they're talking about. I mean, shoot, there's probably what do you say, 5 to 6 running backs that weren't there that are clear better. No, I would say clear better options, but would be considered better options. So these running backs are, if we're talking on like a list of top 10, are fighting over like who's 7, who's 8. So then when you don't solidify yourself or stand out to make an argument for why you're 7, that's only going to push you farther down into that conversation of who the better running back is.
And I think he went from an early day 3 guy to a later day 3 guy, around 6, 7 for him. So that'll be interesting to see. My loser of the week. This was a guy I'd actually really liked on tape. He looked really athletic. The edge rusher from Army, Andre Carter. He just didn't look like enthused or energetic out there. He kind of got swallowed up by some of the larger tackles. And for a guy that was getting first round hype, I think now he's a 3rd round pick. Like he's a project edge rusher. One of the comparisons that I heard during the broadcast was Max Crosby coming out. And I actually think that's a pretty good comparison, like build wise and athleticism wise. Max Crosby, before he actually had any real success in the NFL, put on about 15 pounds before he was at Eastern Michigan. So that for me, I think that's the prospect that you're looking at now instead of the fringe first rounder edge rusher. He just didn't look the part. He didn't look as athletic as he did on tape. He got swallowed up by tackles. When his first move would get stopped by a tackle, he just kind of didn't know what else to do. So physical traits, long arms, athletic build, has the frame to put on more weight. He just didn't look ready. He didn't look like a first round pick to me. And so I think he's a late day 2, early day 3 pick now.
Yeah. And it's another one as well, similar to like Chase Brown, especially when you get other guys who come and raise their draft stock a bunch. Like on the flip, like on the flip side of Andre Carter was Will McDonald, who for me was a borderline. I mean, he's an honorable mention for me, but and he elevated his draft stock so much. And then when you see Andre Carter, who some of it's probably unfair to him and Chase Brown, is the hype that there was in there
coming in,
And then so it's like when you go to a movie like this movie is going to be the best movie ever, and it's just okay. You're like, okay, well, I'm disappointed with that because the expectations weren't met. And some of that's not fair on them. But that being said, though, you're right. It did seem lackluster. And he weighed in at what, again, 250 pounds-ish?
No, I think he was like 6'4", 264.
I thought he was a little bit on the smaller side. I'm trying to remember the exact
lanky.
Number. He does look lengthy, He does look lengthy. Anyways, and I say that up because it just seemed like going up against some of maybe these bigger offensive linemen.
No, he's 6'7", 260. That's what he is.
Okay,
that's
260.
What he weighed in at,
Okay. So he's tall. He's lengthy. But I think he might need to put on some more pounds because he seemed like he struggled against some of those. There's a video actually of Cody Mauch going up against Andre Carter, and I think Mauch was playing left tackle, and he just threw him to the ground.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't even much of a competition. So, but before we get into our overall stunners of the week, I already mentioned some honorable mentions. For me, as I said, Will McDonald was one. Xavier Hutchinson, also out of Iowa State, actually. Those two, to me, I think that they'd been talked about a lot, so I was trying to be a little bit more diverse on other guys that I really like. But those two guys, to me, I think did a very good job. The guys you mentioned to me also completely agree with.
I'll go over them. I have 4 right here. Payne Durham, tight end from Purdue.
Yep.
He was a great blocker on tape, but they didn't really have a lot of
catching,
receiving reps that were NFL caliber. And man, he looked really good, both blocking and receiving. John Michael Schmidt, best center in the class. He solidified that. I don't think he lost a rep at center this week.
No, he looked good. He looked really good.
Jaden Reed had the fastest GPS time of any wide receiver, as well as, came in, he was 5'10" and a half, 185 pounds. So it's a little undersized, but not too bad. Whereas teams thought he was going to come in the 170s. He had a really good week, good route running, and can kind of play inside, outside, have that flexibility. And the last one, Tyrique Stevenson, the corner from Miami, the best corner that was there for sure. But I think he's also now a fringe first round corner. He kind of put him up in that section where Joey Porter, back into the first round, maybe early day 2. Corner.
Do you think he's better than guys? I think that's one that's going to be interesting to watch. Because I think something that's underrated is this cornerback class coming in. There seems like there's a lot of deep corners. Because even then, I didn't realize this, but even with our mock draft, neither one of us even mentioned Keely Ringo from Georgia, who maybe fell off a little bit just because of his performance at the college football playoffs. But he's still a really good corner that's going to be taken, I think, in the first 2 rounds. There's a lot of hype around him. So this corner class, it's going to be something to definitely look out for. But a little off topic there. But in general, the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl, we didn't even talk about the Shrine Bowl, but I thought that there was a lot of good talent there. I think the Senior Bowl, there's a little bit higher end talent at the Senior Bowl. But a lot of honorable mentions that we could talk about. But the one for me, and this is interesting, and maybe it's a little bit different than I guess kind of what my 2 winners are, and I guess what my loser was based off of was about standing out, showing that you're the next guy. And maybe this is kind of it, but my overall winner for me is solidified his first round status, and in fact, he's arguably the best pure interior lineman, O'Cyrus Torrence. Absolutely just dominated all of the workouts. His performance for the entire week, I thought, was phenomenal. And the reason why it is for me, and maybe it's a little bit of a boring pick, but they're going to be. You always need offensive linemen. You always need interior offensive linemen, especially guys that are quick. And he was by far the best. He was by far the best, in my opinion. I know I touted Cody Mauch earlier. He answered all the questions, and O'Cyrus Torrence solidified why I think he's going to be picked ahead of Cody Mauch. I think potentially even, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, if I mentioned it to you, but I could see why a team like Tennessee could take him at 11 if they really like him purely as an interior guard over maybe Peter Skoronski or Paris Johnson, and solidifying him in there just because of his size, raw strength, quickness, overall talent. I'm not saying he's overall better than them, but I think I would now be okay, I understand that pick. I don't think that's a stretch. I don't think that's like taking Cole Strange in the first round. So I had to throw that one in there whenever I can.
I agree. I think 11 might be a little rich.
It might
for a guard, especially when Peter Skoronski could come in. If he doesn't work out a tackle, he can play guard. That for me. But in the 20s, go he's interior offensive lineman number 1. He's as
You're
good
interior
of
offensive lineman, I would say. pure interior offensive lineman.
Yeah,
like, I don't think he can play tackle. But like Skoronski could play tackle.
Yeah. But like I think he'll get drafted before John Michael Schmidt, unless somebody needs a true center. Then that's the only way that could come in. But even then, I was like, okay, maybe just play O'Cyrus Torrence at center. Like
maybe, yeah.
So yeah. For me, my winner of the week, Michael Wilson, the wide receiver from Stanford. This guy was relatively unknown, really, coming into this week. And most likely a 7th round pick, UDFA. Like that's best case scenario for him coming into the Reece Senior Bowl. He solidified himself up there as probably better than Xavier Hutchinson, Rashee Rice, Puka Nacua, Andre Yeshivas. Like he was the best outside wide receiver of the week.
Yeah.
By a pretty large margin. The only concern in the last 3 seasons, he's only played 14 games and caught about 900 yards. But he looked dominant.
Yeah.
This entire week. I think I have a high 3rd round grade just based off injury concerns alone. But I think if you were looking at Xavier Hutchinson, looking at Rashee Rice as a guy that you wanted your team to potentially take in that late 2nd, early 3rd round range, you have to put Michael Wilson there.
Yeah.
He moved his draft stock up 4 whole rounds.
Yeah.
Which is just insane to me.
No, and that I agree with that last statement the most of what you said is that he at least put his name in the conversation. I won't go as far to say that he's clearly better than Xavier Hutchinson or Rashee Rice, but it's like what you said. He has now put his name in the conversation. If he fits the system better, if he fits the scheme better.
Last week he was clearly better.
Well, but yeah, he was clearly better last week. Yes,
yeah.
But that's why I think that performance and put him up in the conversation. You know what I mean? Kind of like how a lot of these other guys, and I agree with you at all that how he was one of the clear wows of the week. I'm just saying when it comes to those other clear top receivers, and that's like Rashee Rice might have been like a loser for the week because he didn't solidify his position as like the clear best receiver. His performance allowed for Michael Wilson to now be put up in that conversation for this debate to be happening even here. You know,
and so Rashee Rice looked good at times, right? He just had a slow start to the week. Some of that could just be adjusting to the NFL scheme. Some of that could just be he's getting used to the higher level of talent coming from SMU.
Yep.
And so like you look at what he did during the game, at practice, every day consistently.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, he's an NFL caliber receiver right now.
Yeah.
To me, if he doesn't have that injury concern, 1, we probably already knew about him coming in. But 2, if he doesn't have that injury concern, he's a high 2nd round pick.
Yeah. Well, and another thing too could be if he's able to demonstrate his the route running tree, then that's going to help out a bunch. Because you're right though, only playing 14 games, not too much film on him. So it's going to be very intriguing to watch him over these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and
over the next couple of months,
games,
actually,
you could clearly see he was not fully healthy.
Yeah.
He looked healthy last week. He played really well. He gets my wow of the week. And yeah, so
yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch this past week. I'm definitely looking forward to the next one and ones after that. Get to learn a lot about these players and kind of get a good understanding on why it's like you want your team to draft this guy in the 3rd round because, like, hey, we saw him. He can play. So, but let's switch gears, though, now. Still sticking with offseason stuff. But if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to this video, leave a comment on what your thoughts were on the Senior Bowl.